So we are all familiar. Well, good morning. Yes, a new beginning, a new day. How very nice to be together. Generally speaking, we follow our karmic maps. That is to say, the maps created by the intentions and predictions of our parents, schools, culture, and so on. Your karma is not something private inside you, it's the whole of how your experience unfolds for you. And no matter where our karmic maps seem to be leading, in fact, they just take us around the labyrinth again and again. As we touched briefly yesterday, there are also many Dharma maps, maps that help you to go from samsara to nirvana, as if we are in a difficult, limited place and we could go to a better, shiny place. Nirvana term in Tibetan Yangan means no suffering, without, beyond any kind of misery or difficulty. And we can imagine a happy land somewhere else. But in the Mahayana tradition, they add something to this idea of free of suffering. They say the free of suffering, the freedom from suffering, which rests nowhere. It's not a place. It's not somewhere to go to. And yet, because it's not located somewhere, it's everywhere. So it's already here. How do we find what is already here? We stop focusing on somewhere else. You can see then the basis for the basic meditation instruction. Don't go after past experience. Don't wait expectantly for future experience. Don't just stay present with whatever is arising without resting on it. Resting on the arising is what we see as attachment, involvement. The grasper and the grasped are born together. When we turn ourselves towards wanting to get something, we find ourselves surrounded by things we could get. So when we sit and do a little practice just now, you can begin in a simple way, just relaxing the out breath. Skeleton is carrying your weight, so the muscles should be relaxed and free, and especially the diaphragm, so the breath can come and go freely. And then we're just here. Here is what is occurring. As we looked yesterday, this is the sky and the clouds. The clouds are not different from the sky. But if you fixate on the clouds, you won't get the sky. This is the particular teaching of Mahamudra and Dzogchen. You don't have to remove the clouds to find the sky. Without the sky, there would be no clouds. So, however your mind is, whether it's light and happy or heavy, confused, the presence of this flow of experiences indicates the presence of the mind. So don't try to relax, but simply be present with the flow of experience without involvement. However it comes, that's how it comes. However it goes, that's how it goes. You can see quickly when you get lost, because then you start to build up some picture or story about I like or I don't like, or this is no good. So this is again the central point for meditators. The clouds themselves are not the problem. It is the commentator who is the problem. Commentator wants to organize what is happening, to make things according to its notion of how it should be. But the clouds are already part of the sky. They are manifesting and vanishing, like reflections in the mirror, like waves on the ocean. So stay with the simplicity of whatever is coming and going. Your activity is not necessary, not helpful. There's nothing to do. It's already okay. It's just this. And then this is gone. And then it's just this. Okay, so we sit. You can sit with an open gaze into the space in front of you, or you can sit with your gaze going down the line of your nose. Either way, don't have the gaze resting on something. If your gaze fixates on an object, that will establish subject-object. So if you're looking down the line of the nose, you can just expand your gaze like a kind of panoramic vision, relaxing the muscles in the eye, and then come back, and then relax, and then settle in a relaxed, unfocused way. And if you get caught up in thoughts and feelings and so on, don't try to think your way out of it. That will just pour petrol on the fire. You recognize, oh, I'm a bit stuck. Either you could do a pet, or you could just relax in a long out breath and then rest, open and relaxed. Okay, we do this for about 10 minutes. Okay. So when we practice, most of us find we are not yet free of self-referencing, of a subtle sense of a sensation or memory or thought somehow being ourselves. This habitual orientation is fed by repetition. So when we're sitting, even if you find yourself locked in a sense of identification with the sensation of the body or some memory, there is an arising simplicity to this. But if you enter into judgment about it, it shouldn't be like this. I don't want it to be like this. This is hopeless. Then the judgment is massaging energy into the habit formation. Love and hate are both forms of relating. The object of love and the object of hate become invested with our feelings about them. So it's exactly the same in meditation. If you take a strong reaction against a particular habit formation that you have, or you feel pleased that you think you're making some progress, when that happens, going in either direction, what you're doing is affirming the truth of this, what's called the three wheels: the subject, the object, and the connection between them. If you strengthen the object by having a strong idea about it, this has a reflexive movement. It comes back immediately onto the subject, and you are strengthened because I don't like you or I love you. So always we want to leave things in their simplicity. However it is vanishing. What it is your interpretation. How it is a luminous, glittering moment which goes into nothing. So we have our open, empty mind that we looked at yesterday. Its quality is luminosity, or the illuminating power that shows all these magical formations that we call trees, houses, people. The first appearance, which is the appearance of the potential of emptiness, is the appearance of light. You can look at this just now. You can look around where you are and choose something, a cup or whatever, a flower, a book, something. And just keep your gaze on that object, relax in the out breath, and keep looking at the object. Slow, deep out breath, not thinking about the object, no judgment or opinion or naming. Of course, these movements may well occur in your mind. If they do, don't block them. You just stay, oh, this is arising, and gone. I see my cup. I say, this is my cup. I used to use it when I worked in the hospital. So I have many memories and links and connections I can invest into this cup. If you saw the cup, you wouldn't have these associations. We would be looking, as it were, at the same object, but I have more points of reference to invest into this cup. The key thing then is, oh, if you don't see what I see, that would indicate either you are blind, or that when I see the cup, I am actively adding my interpretation to it. And if this is an activity, I don't have to stop the activity, but just not merge with it. So if I look at the cup and think, oh yeah, I remember my room in the hospital with this cup. A thought like that could have little tendrils coming out of it, little connective hooks to other thoughts. Or just, I used to work there. That was my life then. So the smoother the thought of where I used to work, the less hook there is to pull in other thoughts. So otherwise I think, oh, I wonder how my old colleagues are, or what is happening with the budget, are they still getting funding, and so on. All kinds of thoughts could arise. Each of these thoughts and associations is a potential for elaboration, for investing, for massaging meaning into the object. So if I remember a particular colleague in the therapeutic community, I wonder how that person is. That is a thought. Therapeutic community is a thought. The whole clinic is a thought. The thought arises and vanishes. So here we see something very interesting about our mind. This is the perverse alchemy of attachment. The thought is so thin, so fine, it's like a puff of wind, like a breath. The clinic, if I look in my watch, clinic, 2 seconds, it's gone. But the clinic where I worked, I liked it there, I'm sad I'm not there, and many of these ephemeral gossamer thoughts stick together. So sometimes if you're in the forest, you see spiders' webs. And sometimes there is layer after layer after layer of spiders' webs. Each one is very fine, very thin. And yet when they are in a sequence, it becomes opaque. So if you reflect in this way and you do this practical exercise of looking at the object and make it more real by investing your associations into the object, and then take these associations back. It's just a cup. The value is not in the cup. If the cup breaks, I would be sad. I have a sentimental attachment to the cup. But this is my mind. So I have a sentimental attachment to the idea of the cup. The cup is a kind of a trigger or support that allows me to elaborate my interpretations of its particular importance for me. By looking again and again in this way, investing and divesting, we can really see that the world shines on the basis of our attention. Or rather, certain aspects of the world seem to shine because we give them our attention, and other aspects don't shine for us at all. In that, you can see my own mind is dividing up the world. I say this is important. I say this is not important. As we looked yesterday, everything arises from the ground. It's the radiance of the ground. It has equal validity as the energy of the Dharmakaya. But my own mental activity allocating differential values creates high and low, near and far, special and ordinary. As long as you believe that the power is in the object, you become a very small person. We can think about politicians we don't like or economic structures we don't like, but we can't change them. The more I'm convinced that this object is bad, the more powerless I make myself. This politician is bad for me. This is my mind's activity. Some people like the politician. How is this possible? They have a different mind. Everything is the mind. Every object is elaborated, ornamented, brought into individual significance through the working of our mind. So the laboratory where we investigate this most profoundly is meditation. When you're sitting, different kinds of opinions, judgments, reactions arise in the mind. They seem to promise some development of meaning. They seem to help to bring us to some definite conclusion. But the conclusions are conceptual and they vanish. No matter how many of these vanishing concepts you stack up, in the end, they vanish. Now there are many, many protests around the world. Thousands of people meet together and chant slogans. Again and again, they say the same thing. And then they have to go home, have a cup of tea, go to sleep. 10 hours of chanting slogans ends in silence. Nothing is created. Anger is aroused, certainty of one's own convictions is aroused. This is like building sandcastles that are washed away by the next high tide. So on an internal level, we do this. When we believe in our thoughts, we believe them to be the messengers of truth. We build little palaces of illusion, arising due to causes and conditions, they then vanish. So we have to recognize what is arising is the display of the ground. For example, if you go in a shop and you want to buy some cloth, whether you want to buy, I don't know, jeans or a sari or a kurta or whatever you want to buy, go to the department where whatever it is made of cotton. What you see is varieties of cotton, different thicknesses of thread, different kinds of cotton, different weaves, different colors. What they have in common is it's cotton. Now, usually we just take that for granted. Yeah, I like cotton, it's good for the skin. Okay, I wear cotton, but this is the one I want. But if we just relax our particularizing focus, it's cotton. 1,000 kinds of cotton. This is the variety or the variegation of the energy of the Dharmakaya. It's, although the Dharmakaya has one taste in all directions, how it shows itself is this rich variety of appearances. These are the modes or the creativity or the possibilities of showing. So when we see everything is the Dharmakaya, in the Dharmakaya or the mind of the Buddha or intrinsic radiance shows different illusory forms, then it is the Dharmakaya. So yesterday in the text, we ended with this meeting of the mother and child lights. The light of our ego, which is our orphan child light, orphan because it's lost contact with mother, this child becomes a kind of feral street child creating its own identity in terms of liking and not liking. That is to say, in order to survive in this world, we have to become ourselves as much as is possible. We see the diverse variety of opportunities and entities, and we make our choices. And through that choice making, we particularize our sense of self. This is the lonely lost child struggling to make meaning. When this lonely lost child meets the mother, there is a recognition, an identification. Oh, if you are my mom, this is who I am. I belong. I am grounded in the ground. I am the display of the ground. The ground is emptiness. The display of emptiness is everything which arises. And within this, we are a movement in this field of movement, manifesting moment by moment from the ground as emptiness, but in interdependence with the other formations, which are illusory display. Everything comes from the ground. So in the meditation, when we find ourselves ascribing particular meanings and significance, this is a sign that we are still an orphan. It's all up to me. I have to make my life. If I don't do it, who's going to do it? And nobody really understands exactly how I am. So I have to make my choices. This is how I maintain and develop myself. And who is doing this? I am doing it. And who are you? I'm the one who's doing it. So we go round and round and round. Because the orphan doesn't recognize its home. And it tries to identify with what is not true. Well, in Buddhism, we describe this as the 6 realms of samsara, the God realms, the formless realms, the hell realms, and so on. These are the ways of, some of the ways of answering the question, who am I? Usually when we pose the question, who am I? The answer comes in the form of concepts. Could be female, male, old, young. There are so many descriptors which can be applied. But these are parts of the narrative construction of the idea of self. Let me tell you about myself. I was born in Scotland. What does that tell you? Nothing. It gives you a storyline. Oh, James was born in Scotland. Now you can think about James in terms of Scotland. Does that bring you into any relation with me? In this moment, I'm like this. How I'll be in the afternoon, I don't know. I am unreliable and unpredictable because I'm interdependent. So knowing things about me is a way of trying to stabilize me, but that is not something you will be able to do. I have spent many years with myself and I have not managed to stabilize myself. This is because the self is radiant energy moving and patterning according to circumstances. We are ungraspable, and our security doesn't lie in establishing a formation that will endure through time. This is the delusion of the ego or the search for inherent existence. When through sitting we awaken to being the child of the mother, that we are rays of radiance that belong to the field of radiance, that we have never been apart from, never apart from the field of radiance, then our radiance is not homogenized into some equal color, but the unique specificity of our own mode of manifesting we see as the richness of the ground. It's not a personal quality. how I am is not telling you about a me, some private essence inside me. We are the showing of the flow of the creative energy of the luminous awareness, which is inseparable from emptiness. So in the meditation, when you bind yourself into a thought or feeling, an interpretation and judgment, you cut yourself off from the ground. Who's been cut off from the ground? No one, because we don't exist separately from the ground. But it is as if this is fiction. It's like a dream, like a mirage, like a rainbow. When the son or when the child meets the mother, there is no dreaming, there is immediate clarity. Okay, so we take a 20-minute break and continue with the text. Okay, so we continue with the text, right at the bottom of the first page. It says, again and again shatter stillness, bliss, clarity, and thought profusion with sudden strikes of the syllables of method and wisdom. We had the mother and child clear lights meet. So it says, I missed the line. Abide in this indescribable how it isness of the aspect of awareness. Oh, when it says abide in, again, this could sound like a positive direction. This is something you should do. It's more like don't stray from. When you awaken to this, your presence in the ground, this is how it has always been. So when we wander off chasing a thought, a feeling, and so on, we're not resting in how it is, but we are seeking something else. To rest it doesn't take effort. The effort comes with making something new happen. And how it isness means always to stay present at the moment of the arising of whatever is arising. What occurs is here, even if it seems to take us somewhere else. So if a thought arises in my mind, I would like to be on a Greek island. It is as if by going into that thought, I could have memories about Greece and so on. But that thought as it arises is here it isness. It is just here, just this. Originally or intrinsically or inherently, this thought is the display of the ground. Only secondarily is it about something else. Well, if I think about Greece, Greece is far away. I have to go, maybe go in the airport. I want to be in Greece, but I don't want to be in the airport with the virus. This is building a palace of thoughts. The immediacy of each of these thoughts is here. The thought that seems to be about something else, somewhere else, someone else, is truly, genuinely, intrinsically just here. It's not going anywhere. The mind doesn't travel because everything is in the mind. Awareness is infinite like the sky. It's always here. So when we think of a polarity of here and there, and we set these terms up as an oppositional polarity back to back, rejecting each other, this is the work of conceptualization. Here is not here, and here is not there, and there is not here. This is like when I was a child, we used to play games. I was in a gang that ran very wild in a big field. And so we would say, you are the cowboys, we are the Indians. And then we would chase each other around making lots of noise. And then someone would say, I'm tired of being an Indian. We always get shot. I want to be a cowboy. And then you change over. How is this possible? Because it's a game. It's conventional truth. The truth is in the naming. There is no internal essence supporting the naming. So when I think, well, Greece is not here, because I know Greece is far away, this is thought construction. And where are thoughts constructed? Here, now. This is the here it isness of all things. There is nothing outside of this now. That might sound quite insane. You might think I'm in my flat, maybe in the evening I go for a walk in the park. The park is not in the flat, it's other than the flat. These are thoughts arising here and now. The thought of somewhere else doesn't take you somewhere else, except when you believe it takes you somewhere else. So, how it isness means when the child and the mother meet. That is to say, when you see, oh, the ground of my being is open, empty awareness. I have been deluded when I was believing that the ground of my being, the basis of my existence was I, me, myself. I, me, myself are concepts. Direct presence, the silent infinite awareness is not a construct. No, the how it isness, the immediacy of the showing is the aspect of awareness. So in the traditional example, when you look in the mirror, the reflection is the showing aspect of the mirror. If you look at the wall, you won't see your reflection. The wall shows the wall. When you look at the wall, it seems to be quite real because, oh, the wall is there. When you look in the mirror, you see the reflection. It's there and not there. Like a mirage you can see on a hot summer's day on the road, it's there and it's not there. The rainbow is there and not there. You can never catch the rainbow, but at the same time, you can see the rainbow. It is there as illusion. So when we see that I, me, myself is like an illusion, it is a modality or a way in which the energy of our presence manifests in the world in order to communicate with other people. The essence of me is emptiness, not a substantial me. And because the essence of me is empty, there is freedom for the showing of the multiplicity of me or me. In the course of a day, you become so many people. This is not possible if you are one fixed entity. When you go out, if you put your keys in your pocket or your bag, you don't want them to have turned into a frog on your way home. You think, oh, 4 hours from now, my keys will still be my keys. I will look at them and recognize them because of their shape. But can we say this about ourselves? 4 hours from now, how will we be manifesting? We don't know. When we have a break, you might get an email that makes you very happy or an email that makes you very sad. We are interdependent, co-emergent patternings of the base energy of awareness. So he's saying here, there is no fixed essence, no reliable point for you to come back to that will always be you. I, me, myself function because they are empty signifiers. They have no fixed content. And so they can pretend to be always existing because they fill themselves with whatever possible appearances are around in the moment. So then he says, again and again, means whenever necessary, shatter, break apart, explode, stillness, bliss, clarity, and thought profusion. And do this with the sudden strikes of the syllables of wisdom and compassion. The syllables of wisdom and compassion is pa, ta, which together is pat, pat. So when these two come together, whatever formal structure you have, whatever you're resting on, you explode out of it. So this points back again to the idea of inherent existence, that there are things which exist in and of themselves, but each phenomena is in a context and will look differently in the context. So stillness, bliss, and clarity are experiences which can arise in meditation. This kind of stillness is sometimes called no thought, or the absence of thought. And these seem to be stable states. You seem to have arrived somewhere. Essentially, there are experiences which are arising, and they may be very powerful and pervade you, but then they vanish. And so don't hold on to them. On the other hand, we can also have a profusion of thought, means many, many different kinds of thoughts. Then you might feel tired, exhausted, excited, many different possibilities. I feel excited. If you put the period, the full stop at the end of that, I feel excited. This is my quality, but I feel excited because I see you. So the excitement is now a relational arising. On the basis of liking you, I feel this. If I didn't like you and I didn't see you, this would arise. So you have to observe your mind again and again and see how you grasp at and solidify and reify transient emergent phenomena. And so he says, whenever you find yourself cocooned or wrapped in a particular mood or feeling or memory, and it seems to be the totality of who you are, the truth of who you are, then use put to explode yourself free from it. Now, some people live in the countryside, they can make this noise very easily. Other people have neighbors and they become a bit anxious about disturbing the neighbors. This may just be your own habitual anxiety. You could try making the noise in a full way and see if you get any complaints. But anyway, it's very important not to feel inhibited at the time that you make the sound of pet. As we looked yesterday, it's about dissolving the polarity of subject and object. So if you worry about what other people will think, or if you worry that you can't do it properly, or if you feel a bit embarrassed and silly, you have to recognize these are thoughts and use pet to explode your path through them so that you experience the open sky. And as we looked yesterday, the key point is after you make the sound of pet, stay with the openness. And then you see that movement occurs in the openness. Stillness and movement are not oppositional here. Stillness of the open, empty mind, which never changes and is suffused with awareness, in the movement of the flow of experiences, which arises sometimes as subject, sometimes as object. These are not two different things. When you see this, this is the child meeting the mother. But as long as you think, I am thinking about my experience, you hold yourself apart from the flow of experience. And it's as if you become the observer of your life, the commentator on your life. And that's not so helpful because you're still cut off from mum. I want my mum. I want my mum. This is the truth of the path. My mum is emptiness. I don't want a thought. I don't want a memory. I want my mum. No, I don't want that. I want mum. Small children are wonderful at doing this. They don't feel ashamed. Oh, we have to be like this. I want my empty mama mind, and nothing else will do. So we do pet. So we practice just now for a short time. As before, you sit in a relaxed way with your skeleton holding your weight, muscles relaxed, mind not busy with thoughts, sitting, breathing easily. And then when you're ready, just allow this sound to come through. You don't plan it too much, just whoosh, coming straight through. Put! 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 Okay. So when you have time, you can sit on your own and do this practice. It's good to do it at first for 5 minutes, then take a short break and go back and do it again. It's not about striving to do something. If you take that attitude, you find yourself in conflict with the thoughts, feelings, and so on. The mood should be quite neutral and just rising straight up and out from the central channel and then whoosh, free. So then he says, make no difference between resting in balance and subsequent experience. and no distinction between sitting sessions and breaks. So this brings us back to the central issue of dualistic thinking, that we are habituated to organizing our experience in terms of opposition. Morning is morning because it's not afternoon. Stillness is still because it's not movement. But now we see, oh, after doing the pet, the mind is open and then thoughts and feelings move. This empty openness is infinite. We do the pet and there's nothing at all, nothing to hold on to, no frame of reference, no subject, no object, just a big open. Then the thoughts and feelings arise within the space. They're not coming from outside in, because the space has no limit. So if we go back to the first line of the text, it says, the view is Longchen Ramjam. With the, excuse me, with the pet, you experience this infinite vastness. It's almost like a deep black night and nothing at all. And then you become aware of movement. So the awareness arising in the night is like the dawn. The sun rises, and gradually the details of the environment become clear. At first, there's just kind of outlines of buildings and so on. But as the sun gets higher and comes over the horizon, we suddenly see the stones, the windows, the shapes, and so on. So in this infinite open night of nothing, the arising sun shows the movement of thoughts, feelings, sensations, books, papers, cups, people, houses. Everything is arising, moving. This is the second sign, the second line. The meditation is Khyentse Ozer, the rays of knowledge and love. So as experience arises, whatever it's like, whether it's dull or clear, happy or sad, there is an immediate showing, like this, how it is. And there is the clarity of seeing how it is. And there is the love of non-dual connectivity. Love here means a quality of complete openness. Usually love gets mixed in with an idea of attachment. I want you just for myself. You are possessible. You are someone I can get. That's a very that's a very debased idea. Here, love means completely open, connected with everything, and able to move in every direction. You say that this experience, which you get when you're in the sitting practice, is not different from what arises when you get up from meditation and you're moving around. And so at the beginning of the text, he said the activity is Jawi Nyugu, the offspring of the victorious ones. So when you get up from sitting, you go to make a cup of tea in the manner of a Buddha. How would the Buddha make a cup of tea? He would be very mindful of where he was, or she was. So she would see, where is the tea, where is the water, where is the pot, and she would see it as experience. If she thought this is delicious tea, she would know that this is a transient expression of connectivity arising in this moment. The Buddha would not be saying, this is really good tea. Where did I buy it? I must get some more of it. I wonder if the shop is still open. Because otherwise you would have two kinds of Buddha. Happy Buddha going to the shop full of hope to buy the best kind of tea. And then sad Buddha walking home because the shop didn't have any of the best tea. The Buddha doesn't put the power in the object. The Buddha doesn't rest in the continuity of the subject. Subject and object arise in their interplay, their movement, their dance. And the Buddha is present and works with the ever-changing circumstances. So, and so in saying no distinction between sitting sessions and breaks means don't make meditation something special or different. Meditation means a space to tune into how it is. Then after the meditation, in your activity, you are working with how it is. Both are based on how it is, which is non-duality of movement and stillness. So then it says, abide continuously in this state of inseparability. So it goes back again to sameness and variety. So sometimes we focus on the white letter R, which is surrounded by light of the five colors. The white letter R means emptiness, stillness, the infinity of the mind itself. The five colors represent the energy of emptiness manifesting as all possible experience. But not two things. The sun and its rays are not two things. If there is the sun, there will be sun rays. If there are sun rays, there will be the sun. If there is stillness, there's movement. If there's movement, there's stillness. So that's what he means by this state of inseparability. Don't enter into binary oppositional thinking. Avoid taking polarities as true. High and low are relative. Sweet and sour are relative. When we say, oh, this is sweet, it's as if we know what we're talking about. But if I go to Turkey and eat some fresh baklava, then I have to travel with my dentist because this is more sweet than my poor teeth can bear. These things are relative. Different cultures like a lot of sugar or almost no sugar. So inseparability means don't set phenomena in opposition to each other, and in particular, don't set phenomena in opposition to emptiness. So, although this is true, he gives a warning. He says, however, until this stability is attained, discard excitation and cherish your practice. Although everything we need is intrinsic, there from the very beginning, and is not produced by our ego energy, nonetheless, because we have habits of living in terms of duality, of prejudice, of deep investment of special meanings, he says, don't don't go into situations which bring a lot of habitual excitement. Stay with your practice. You can do 5 minutes of practice 10 times a day, 20 times a day. You can do it in a tea break at work. You can do it waiting for the bus. You can do it in any situation. It's not special. You're not doing anything artificial. You don't need to wear a special hat or have a vajra and bell. So as you become more aware of your own capacity, you can gradually increase the complexity of the situations you engage with. So say, for example, you're at work and somebody is horrible to you and you're upset. Then it's difficult to focus your mind on what you have to do and observe this. Now, you can pull this in a tight fashion and think, this is terrible, I can't cope, it's horrible, I hate that person, I don't want to be here. Well, this is like a grasping onto what has happened, like we looked at the very beginning yesterday morning. So in that moment, we just try to breathe out, relax, and think, this happened. I feel bad. It's not fair. This is how it is. Then you don't add extra spices and cook it up. You're not pretending it didn't happen. You're not artificially trying to calm yourself down, but neither are you developing a big story about what occurred. This happens. And the one who can manage everything that happens is called awareness. Ego cannot do this. So it says maintain clear sessions for meditation. Well, this is just to get the flavor of it. It's not a military operation. It's not about mobilizing your resources to try harder, but giving yourself a gentle reminder to be with yourself as you are. When you are caught up in the storylines of what happened, what you did, what they did, you're only being with half of how you are. You're over identifying with and over focusing on the flow of manifestation. But this manifestation, this movement has never been separated from the infinite stillness of open awareness. So we relax into what is already integrated. Again, integration is not some active verb here. We're not doing integration. What we are doing is not doing disintegration. The activity of over-identification with transient phenomena, this produces the delusion of a disidentification with the ground. Then he says, at all times and in all situations, maintain this single Dharmakaya through all fluctuations. It means there is no situation which is so terrible or so wonderful that it has to be given a special status outside the flow of movement inseparable from emptiness. Everything is integrated. This is the meaning of Dzogchen or Dzogpa Chempo, the great integration, the great whole, the great inclusion. Nothing is excluded. So as Namkhai Norbu used to say many, many times, senza limita, no limitation. Sometimes we feel this is too much. No, too much. No, you can't do that. And we limit ourselves. You can say, you are free to be however you are. I'm going for a walk. I don't need to stay here and have you shit all over me. But if you have psychodiarrhea, that's your issue. You don't need to make the other person bad. You don't need to make yourself a victim. You can just work with space. When you have more space, then you can be present with how it is. Because when we slice into the world and we say, inside, this is what I identify with, and outside, this is what I don't want to have any contact with, then we're back with the three root poisons. The first, dullness, mental dullness, objectifies and reifies. So something is here, something is happening. Something is happening to me. So now we have subject and object. Then our reaction to that is like. I like it, and therefore I have attraction, or I don't like it, and I have aversion, desire, and anger. These three positionings create so much of the turbulence of our world. We can see in American politics how hatred is being used in a very divisive way. There are the good guys, the friends of America, and the bad guys, the enemies of America. Some of the enemies live outside America, and some live inside America. They are bad Americans, not true Americans. These are people not to be trusted. As some of us have looked many times, this is the structure of all dictatorships. It is an attack on thinking. When you think about the world, it's very complicated. Good guys and bad guys is a children's game. We have to work with complex situations where there are many different facets, like a crystal turning. So whenever situations arise, don't overreact, don't get over involved. And he says, be clear that there is nothing other than this. This is the completion of the Buddha's teaching. This is the mind and heart of Samantabhadra. On the first level of transmission, the Jawa Gombigyu, the direct transmission of the Buddha's mind to mind, is exactly this. That openness is open and stays open, however the forms and patterns of arising occur, because these arisings are its own self-display. So now Patrul Rinpoche links this to the second key statement of Garab Dorje. He says, decisive clarity directly on this specific uniqueness is the second key point. And here he's indicating this is not a theory. This is not some abstract philosophical doctrine. This is not a dogma to learn and believe and repeat. By staying with the unique specificity of the moment, each moment, like this, like this, like this, you have the clarity, the direct clarity of seeing movement and stillness are inseparable. There is no movement apart from clarity. Movement is the play of clarity, however it is. And that is then the way of seeing that everything is included in the whole, the uninterrupted, undivided non-duality. So this is the second key point. So it means we need to return to this again and again in our own practice. Am I splitting subject and object? Am I splitting the world into good and desirable and bad and undesirable? Am I running a commentary about everything? When you see that you do this, don't think you're doing something bad. See that this also is the energy of the Dharmakaya. There is no mistake. From the very beginning, everything which arises in the manner of an illusion. In the summer, if you drive your car fast towards a mirage, you don't crash. Mirage dissolves. I hate myself. Dissolves. I need you. Dissolves. Every arising phenomena is dissolving back into its ground, which is the field of infinite awareness. So don't apply artificial antidotes. You might think, oh, my mind is a mess. I'm always getting lost. I need to do a nundro. I need to do more purification. You can do it if you like. Who is doing the nundro? I am doing the nundro. Who are you? I am the energy of the Dharmakaya. then the nundro's nice. I am doing the nundro because I am a fucked up person. I have a lot of problems. I need the Buddha to help me. Who says you have problems? Look in my mind, see, full of problems. Is the problem the fact that these, what you call difficult things, arise in your mind? Or is it that you think it's your mind? It's the mind. The mind is the Dharmakaya. But if you want to have your fucked up, stupid mind, be my guest. You can give yourself a bad time. It's your ontological freedom. But Patrul Rinpoche says, not necessary, and please don't do it. See that movement and stillness are inseparable. Okay, so this is in a sense, this is the essence of the instruction. So when you meditate and when you walk about in the world, relaxed, light, open, flowing with whatever's occurring, when you're in a bad mood, when you don't like what's happening, this is movement. Let the movement move, free of grasping, and then you see it's self-liberating. It's already gone. Okay, so now we take a break for lunch. If we come back at 1:45, 15 minutes before 2 o'clock, that gives us just over an hour. Okay, good. Have a nice break, and I'll see you soon. Bye. Other point at this stage is that this is the last of the events we have up on the plan for the future, and we don't really know what the autumn will bring in terms of the virus and travel and so on. But we'll probably do some more Zoom talks. So if there are any particular topics you would like to be addressed, please send me an email. The address is on the website, and I can think about whether we can fit it into a schedule. Well, and one third point, we're a bit short of time today, and I want to finish at least this first part of Patrul Rinpoche's presentation. Ideally, we would need 2 or 3 weeks to go through everything in proper detail. So I won't have time to do the Lung, the traditional reading of the Tibetan text. I had the Lung from various teachers and a lot of detailed explanation from Chimid Rigsin, Siya Lama. And his instruction to me was that with a text like this, which is very public, which is very well known, the Lung is helpful but not necessary. Our main point is to connect us with the mind and not with the text. The text is a vehicle to support the transmission of the understanding which we gain by practicing together, reflecting together, and through the explanation. Okay, so we do a little more practice, and we do the practice by just sitting in this open way, and then you reverse the direction of your looking. Through our body and our senses, we come out into the world through our eyes, our ears, and so on. So instead of looking out, we want to look in. But we're not looking like a detective. We're looking more in the manner of the mirror. The mirror shows what it sees. Awareness shows. It illuminates, and the illumination gives the space for appearances to appear. So we relax, we are aware of what is arising. So can we be aware of the mind showing? Remember, awareness is open, it's infinite. It has no shape or color, it has no size, it's not big or small. It's not somewhere that you can name and nail down. It hasn't come from somewhere. It hasn't gone anywhere. You can observe this for yourself. Awareness is always present, but it's not present as something. This is the great mystery. This is beyond thought and expression, but it just is. So when we want to be close with our mind, as movement is occurring, allow the movement to move. Don't get involved. As with this simple exercise we did on the first morning, if you grasp, you tighten and close. The mind is not a thing, you can't get it. So the mind is not a thing you can get. So you have to look without trying to get. That means relaxed and open, without hope and fear. We are present with what is present. So you are opening to the open. And then just there. And whenever you find yourself slipping into identification with the patterns of what is occurring, don't do anything. Stay on the point of entrapment. You have shrunk, you have become small on a point, you've fused into something which is occurring. Don't change it. It's not wrong. This also is the energy of the Dharmakaya. There is no other source. So stay on that point. So you stay on the point. That point is here and now. Whatever is emerging, it is only ever here and now. If you stay present on here and now, the movement will move. This is the special feature of Dzogchen practice. This is the self-liberation of all movement. So the key point is don't make any effort. The effort you make makes it worse. Don't enter into judgment about how your mind is. By staying present on the point, on this instant of emergence, movement goes through it and awareness is there. Then you see the non-opposition between stillness and movement. They are present from the very beginning. By staying without moving, you enter the intrinsic unity of stillness. Then, however your mind is, it just flows through and flows through. There's nothing to be changed. But if you remain addicted to your habit of judgment and blame and correction and improvement, the door to awareness will remain closed. Okay, so we sit like this for a little. Okay, so you can come back to that again and again. When you have this, in the meditation, when you have the sense of your body, you feel sensations. It's exactly this, the same instruction. Allow the sensation to arise and pass. Leave it as it is. That is to say, not naming it, not making a commentary on it. And then you see, oh, sensation is ungraspable. Again, it's something very simple some of us have done before. If you take your arm and hold your arm in front of you and pull your shirt back, and then close your eyes and very gently run your finger down your arm. Then you see, oh, here is sensation. We can't say what it is. It's so amazing. This is something you have to do. Then you have the experience yourself. Then you see, oh, the sensation is ungraspable. If you become clear that sensation is ungraspable, when you talk about sensation, you say pleasurable or unpleasant. You're not talking about the sensation itself. You're talking about your opinion or your interpretation of the experience. So if you like, there you see the object side is empty, ungraspable. Then again, you can do the same thing. Run your finger down your arm and allow yourself to interpret or comment on this. So you might think, oh, this is very delicious. This is a wonderful light touch full of expansion. When this is arising in your mind, pay attention to the arising and passing of the thought chain. One thought comes, and as it vanishes, another thought comes. And as one vanishes, another one comes. Now we see, oh, the subject also is ungraspable and impermanent and self-liberating. So now, when you are completely clear, not in a conceptual way, but you know it very directly in yourself, object side is empty, subject side is empty. Then you go on to more advanced practice. This involves eating ice cream. As your tongue is licking the ice cream, there is sensation, flavor and scent, texture, all vanishing. So you have your commentary. I really like this ice cream. I'm talking about vanishing. That ice cream was good. I'm talking about nothing at all. The past is gone. I've eaten the ice cream. I want to have another ice cream tomorrow. Where is tomorrow? You can't find tomorrow. Oh, the past is empty, the present is empty, the future is empty. When this is clear for you, there is no prison. There is no trap. Whatever is occurring is vanishing, whether it looks like object or looks like subject. But you have to repeat this again and again until it's clear. So whether you're walking or talking or eating or swimming, looks like someone is doing something, you don't have to stop the interpretation which would insist the ego is real, because the very statement, I exist, has already vanished. Stay with the first showing. So in Tibetan, they have many, many words that talk about the original or the first. Tadak, Yeshe, Dodne, and so on, which is saying from the very beginning, it's like this. But from the beginning doesn't mean like a children's fairy tale. Once upon a time, long, long ago. It originally, from the beginning means now. There is no other beginning than now. Yeshe, original knowing or primordial knowing or unchanged knowing is always the knowing of now. It's another way of saying Rigpa, awareness. In Western culture, we tend to associate wisdom with age, with some knowledge and experience which is accumulated across time. But in Buddhism, wisdom is the clarity of the immediacy of the inseparability of now as space and appearance. The past and the future are ideas. It doesn't mean that if you do this kind of practice, you don't know where you are or you don't know how to behave. Whatever is required arises immediately. This, in Tibetan, they call this hlundrup. It means like a hill suddenly appearing. The whole thing is there at once. It's not built up piece by piece. Everything gathers in an instant. What is gathering? The display of the primordial ground. So we've looked now in many, many ways at the emptiness of the individual self. And we do this so that gradually we trust that everything that is required is immediately manifesting. If you stay in the moment, everything you need is there. So now we go on to this section concerned with the third key point. So he's saying, when you see the inseparability of movement and stillness, he says, at that time, attachment, aversion, joy, sorrow, and whatever thoughts may suddenly occur, leave no trace. Because the clarity of the mind is instant. It's very quick. Like you put something in front of a mirror and the reflection is there. It's just there. This is the spontaneity of clarity. However, we also have impulsivity, which is quick. Impulsivity is not clear, but it's quick. You jump into a situation. We don't want to do this, because when I follow an impulse, I, James, am in the impulse. But Hlundrup is the whole field arises at once, and we of course are part of it. So because we've already started to taste the completion, the Dzogchen of the mind itself, and that nothing is missing, then when experiences like attachment and aversion, happiness and sorrow arise, they leave no trace. Why do we get marked by events? Someone says something to us. If it's something sweet, it lingers with us. We absorb it. Oh, maybe they like me. So now you have the beginning of a dialogue of you and the person who said something. And the same happens if they say something that makes you unhappy. The trace occurs because we don't let it go. Someone says, oh, you're lovely. Who are they referring to? They're referring to their experience of you in this moment. Oh, they like me. But where is me? Me doesn't exist. So if someone says, I love you, you should always know they're never talking about you. They're talking about their idea of you. That makes life much easier. But once you absorb the sweet word or the sour word and you massage it into yourself, then it leaves a trace. And the problem of the trace is, it means, for example, if I have a cup and I have, as I do, I have some cold tea in this, and now I want some apple juice. Better not to put the apple juice into the cold tea. So if I am marked by the comment that someone has made, then the flavor of their remark influences how I go into relation with the next moment. So stay with the true nature of time. In the moment of time coming, it's gone. Whatever was arising has already gone. The trace that you follow is your own mental construction. So again, if someone says, I love you, this is a moment in time. Then you remember they said, I love you. You're thinking about your mind. You have a memory that they said that. The moment of the saying has gone. I'm so happy they love me. This is an internal experience. It now has nothing to do with the other person. And by imagining that what was said in the past is true in the present, you become woven into this texture of the three times, where past, present, and future move together, creating this seeming royal road of continuity. But that moment is gone. So that's what it means, is allow what is coming to come, allow what is going to go. So it says, do not linger in the state of recognition. For example, if you go into the park and they have some rose bushes, and you go to the bush and you inhale the scent, you have the deep sense of the perfume of a rose. That moment is that. If you comment on it, if you confirm to yourself that you know about roses, oh, the roses smell so good this year, then you are comparing and contrasting. So this is what it means to stay with the state of recognition. Now, you've gone from the moment of the absolute presence of an experience, but if you take hold of it as if it was substantial, the smell of the rose. The smell of the rose you can't catch, but you talk of it as if it is something. Oh, it's so strong, it's so deep, it's amazing. You're talking about nothing. You're talking about some scent which is vanishing into the wind. So staying with the recognition means to turn the immediate clarity of the presentation of experience into a pseudo entity which can be apprehended. So he says then, identify Dharmakaya in this liberation. It means, as we looked before, whatever is occurring is the energy of the Dharmakaya. So here rose, here's your nose. The nose and the rose say hello, and oh, wonderful. All has already vanished. The comment on the smell of the rose is itself vanishing. Each experience is itself. Each moment is the Dharmakaya. The Dharmakaya is the mind of the Buddha. It's relaxed, open, clear. Whether it's a color or a smell or a shape or a touch or a memory, this is the Dharmakaya itself. So it is the vanishing of the appearance which shows its lack of separation and inherent existence. What you grab is something new. So if I say I went for a walk yesterday, that yesterday is arising now. It is the yesterday which is manifest in my description of my yesterday. I'm not talking about somewhere else, some other time. In the general way, thinking is linking. Oh, what did I do on my walk yesterday? I have to think about it. By thinking about it, making it substantial, I bring other inventions into mind and create a narrative. This is a narrative now, which looks as if it's about yesterday. So when you drive and you see a mirage, it seems to be there, but it's not. Yesterday I went for a walk. This is an illusion. I'm creating for you the illusion that I can talk about the past as if it existed. This is the magical creativity of the mind, which is beautiful and wonderful if we see this is coming from the Dharmakaya, from awareness. But if I really believe that I, James, am talking about what I truly did yesterday, then I'm making a non-existent yesterday seem real. And simultaneously, I'm making a non-existent James seem real. So if you see the ground, everything is without problem. It leaves no trace. So in the vanishing of phenomena, there is a Dharmakaya. It says, as with writing on water, self-arising, self-liberating is continuous. So if you had a bowl of water and you put your finger in it and you try to write your name, as this first letter is arising, it's also vanishing. And all the way along, arising and vanishing seamlessly. It's not that something arises, stays, and then goes, but it's seamless. Here, gone, here, gone, here, gone. And even this here is very soft and tender. Just this, just this. As your body and your voice and your mind move in the ceaseless turbulence of the sweet ocean of the Buddha's heart. Okay, let's take a break for 20 minutes and hopefully the internet connection will be better. Good. Hi. Okay, can you hear me, Robert? Excellent. Okay, so in English, when we use the word mind, it can be the content of the mind, which is usually taken to be the mind itself. So we can say things like, my mind is tired. We don't normally say tiredness is arising as an experience in my mind. So this helps us to see that mind as flow of experience and mind as awareness are not two different things. The mind as experience about being happy, sad, all the things he was mentioning earlier, this is the showing of the potential or the generosity of the mind itself. The root of all the content of the mind, including what it thinks about as houses, cars, people, and so on, all of this is the display of the mind. So what we take to be our ego self, our sense of I, me, myself, this is patterning of the energy of the mind. It's not something alien to be removed. It's not something bad. It simply is something which is unreal, which pretends to be real. Nowhere can anything be found which is real. There are no things. But when we are in touch with our ego self, who I feel I am, this ego self is not open to the ground. It exists due to the illusion of being apart from the ground. And so it fears the no thingness of the ground and seeks something reliable. But there is nothing reliable. Every something is impermanent. And so every compounded thing is impermanent. Everything which has a beginning comes to an end. This is the simple truth of how our life is. The more you think there is something, then there is a sadness at the vanishing of something. But when you see that these somethings is this ceaseless display of the arising and vanishing of the energy of awareness, then we're not sad. If you go driving in the countryside, sometimes at the side of the road, you see some flowers and maybe a little sign. Somebody has been killed on their motorbike. Oh, we think this is sad. Someone has died. Now, if you go to the sea, you see the wave arising and vanishing. This beautiful wave which arises and shows itself to us, and now it's vanishing. So then you need to take your money from the bank and buy a little boat and row out into the ocean. And as each wave is descending back into the ocean, you must scatter some rose petals in memory of the death of this wave. Something has died. If you do that, people will think you're stupid. Nothing has died. It's just water going from one shape to another. So that's what the text is saying here. All these forms and experiences of your life is like writing on water. Now it has this shape, now it has that shape. It arises without being born. There is no nurse to cut the umbilical cord. The baby is connected still with the mother. The baby comes out, beautiful baby, and then whoop, baby goes back in again. Then another baby. coming, going, then another, coming, going. This is the magical womb of the Great Mother, Prajnaparamita. When the ego takes itself to be born, to be cut off from the ground, to be separate, then it enters another story. So when you start to experience that you are the flow of light, of transient sensation, memory, intention, arising and passing, you're not something separate from the ground. And so, as our practice is to relax back into the ground, the mother potential, the mother luminosity, the display of all experience has never actually been separated from the child display, which is our sense of who we are as a seemingly separate sentient being. We are always already connected. So at first you hear this, maybe an interesting idea, but ideas vanish very quickly. You have to massage it into you so that it becomes the very marrow of your bones. When we talk about the ground is the basis or the source. Everything comes from the ground. The ground is not something far away, not something long ago. The ground is always now. And the ground displays itself as three aspects called Ngowo Rangjin Tukje. Ngowo means the face. You can't see your own face. So face here indicates something present but ungraspable. The empty basis of you is not something you ever find as a thing because it's not a thing. And the second term, Rangjin, can be indicated as complexion. Complexion is how your body shows whether it's healthy or not. So this complexion is how the ground shows itself. It shows itself as Hlundrup, as everything which is arising. And the third term is Tukje, which can mean compassion, but here it means more connectivity. So if you think of your face, it's always showing connectivity. When you meet someone and you see their face, your face changes. In reaction to the other, you might show fear, anxiety, joy, desire, anger. All kinds of things will show in your expression. And even if no one else is there, some memory comes in your mind and your face changes. So we have the empty potential of the face, its complexion, and its expressiveness. These are not three separate things, linked aspects of nothing. Or in another way, you could say, this is how openness shows itself. And for us, as he's been showing all the way through, the most important is the first, is our original face. So we already got revelation of your original face directly to yourself is the first key point. Tibetan is called Ngotro. It means to be introduced to yourself. On the basis of that, you see everything which arises is not other than this infinite open expanse. So in the text, if we continue, he says, whatever arises is food for naked, aware emptiness. Food means nourishment, something that makes more strength, more energy, more vitality. However the world is, whatever situation arises, if you stay aware, this experience arising for you, displaying through you and as you, is the brightness of you. That is to say that the potential, which is the naked, empty awareness, shows some new formation on the basis of what is arising. In the Mahayana text, they say that this is like the peacock. And the peacock, so they say, is able to eat the poisonous herb that has atropine in it. And instead of dying, as many other birds would eat, the colors of its feather become even more bright. So when anger arises, or loneliness, or hopelessness, if you react to them as unwanted, or you act with fear towards this experience, you increase your sense of duality. But when you stay with the experience that's occurring, you are the open, empty ground, arising from as the ground, dissolving into the ground as the ground. Empty shows empty, more showing of the varieties of emptiness. That is to say, let's imagine you're a very anxious person. You worry what other people think of you. Then you're in a situation where you do something not very great, and maybe your boss is angry with you, and it's very embarrassing. The embarrassment makes you feel real and separate and small. If you identify with that, you shrink back. But you remember the teaching, you remember the lineage from the Buddha. This is arising and it's passing, gone. Then there is no trace. That's what he was just describing, like writing on water. I made a mistake. I made a mistake. You can have complete equanimity saying, I made a mistake. Or you can turn it back towards yourself. Oh God, I made a mistake. Oh, that's terrible. When you do that, you separate yourself from the ground and from the field. Now you are apart in your lonely separation. So in Dzogchen, we are not looking for 100,000 different antidotes to difficulties in life. This one truth is enough. It's not even an antidote. This is the one truth of how it is, and how it is liberates everything which is arising. And it liberates it not in an active form. It's not like going to the zoo and letting all the monkeys out of the cage. Here, there is no zoo except in your own mind. The monkeys of your mind are in the forest. Your mind is a wild jungle. You don't know what's going to come. Monkeys come, snakes come, all kinds of things come in your mind. And oh, now they're gone. You don't have to set them free. They are free. From the very beginning, the mind is free. The zoo, the prison, is created by your own thought. And you don't even have one thought of your own. So it's simply delusion. So don't do anything. Rest, open, and you will see directly all phenomena go free by themselves. Then you find yourself without effort, always on this point, here and now, present and open. And no matter what is coming, it will allow your mind to become easier, and just let it come, let it go, let it come, let it go. Now, this teaching is in some ways a quite advanced teaching. Most of us have quite a lot of attachment and we want to protect ourselves. So we can't quite say honestly, whatever comes, comes, because we are selective. What you have to find is the middle way. To needlessly put your life in danger is stupid, because the dead body won't do any practice. On the other hand, hiding from the world doesn't help either, because we learn through experience. So whatever comes strengthens our trust in the emptiness of phenomena, which strengthens our trust in the emptiness of the ground. So now he's repeating himself. In this kind of text, the same point is repeated again and again and again, because actually there's very little to say. It said all movement is the expression of sovereign Dharmakaya. Dharmakaya is your mind, especially the aspect of open awareness. Something happens. How do you know? Because you're aware. Something registers, something insists. Oh, you hear a sound, you smell something, you think, shit, I have to go to the kitchen, I left something cooking. We're like that. Something impacts us. All movement, whether it seems outside of you or inside your skin bag, is the movement of the Dharmakaya. And it's called the sovereign, the king or the queen, because it's in charge without being in charge. This is a very traditional view. My Tibetan teacher taught this way, but it's not for our democracies. But they say, like in East Tibet, without a king, the country is not going to thrive. The king sets the flavor of the country. And when you see this royal Dharmakaya, that it is generous, unprotective, inclusive, peaceful, without bias, this sets the mood of the kingdom or the queendom. So then he says, without trace, inherently pure, wonderful. This is the great medicine of all the ills of especially human beings. Of course, for all the beings in the six realms, but especially for human beings, because we do the most relying on the past and planning for the future. Now we become aware of the impact of life situations on people. We talk about trauma, post-traumatic stress disorder, and so on. Many psychological disturbances can be traced back to difficulties in childhood. That is to say, these events have left a trace. I am marked by what happened. And of course, how our parents are, whether they gave us a lot of attention or very little attention, gives some influence to the patterns of our development. But what is marked? It is our egoic formation, which is a pattern of movement. Our Buddha nature, the ground awareness, is never marked by anything. It is kadak, vajra, indestructible. So who is the one who is hurting because they were not loved? This is a patterning of sensation, feeling, thought, memory, comparison to other people's existence, and so on. This is a construct. The construct forms again and again because of the gathering together of aspects. This is the, the formation of the self entity, the samskara or duce. Because it is a pattern, it is influenced by events and the pattern is altered. Now, when we don't have access to the ground, when we never hear these teachings, when nobody ever shows us the possibility of meditation, all we have as our sense of self is our patterning. So working in therapy, we hear these sad stories a lot. Somebody says, my life was really good until I was 6. Then my mom died. My dad got a new partner. He didn't like me. You can see how these stories unfold. Now my dad's not interested in me. Some children collapse. Some children become very self-destructive in an active way. Some children focus on being very determined and successful. There are many reactions to that kind of situation. And whichever pathway unfolds for the child and then the adult they become, it is as if they are this patterning. this is the tragedy of samsara. All the ingredients of these limiting patterns of self-identification are in fact the radiance of the Dharmakaya. But who knows of these things? We come in contact with a few teachers who know these things in lineages passed on for thousands of years. But mainly if you go to the doctor and tell them a story like this, you will have a response which is reifying and objectifying. You will get a diagnosis, which indicates there's something wrong with you. It's unlikely that the doctor says, yeah, and there's something wrong with me too. Here we are wandering in samsara together. What a fucking life, huh? No, they say there's something wrong with you, which internalizes the difficulty and isolates the person even more. So this is why this teaching is so important. If you open yourself to it and practice it, your mind is inherently pure and there is no trace from anything. This is wonderful. This is kada, the primordial purity of the ground. Then he says, the manner of arising is as before. Means life goes on. Some people like you, some people don't like you. You're happy about some bits of your life, other bits you're not so happy about. You're not suddenly transported to a land without problems. But now you see directly all problems are the movement of emptiness. If I don't solidify them, they won't solidify me. So then good times come, bad times come, people love you, people don't love you, your heart is happy, your heart is sad. The difference is that you are not being impacted by each event that occurs. You're not being shaped and molded by events. You remain untouched, yet connected. The mirror is untouched by the reflection, yet connected. So then he says, the manner of liberation is the distinctive crucial point. Because everything is self-liberating, vanishes by itself, you don't need to be in charge. All that arises is empty and vanishing. Stay present in the moment, and you experience more and more and more. More color, more sensitivity, more beauty. Here, now, all of this. He says then, without this, meditation is but a path of delusion. It means I want to practice meditation in order to be more calm. I have 3 children, a drunk husband, and a sick mother. Very hard. How are you going to be calm? Maybe you should join your husband in drinking. Meditation is not going to make big problems in the world suddenly vanish. It's not an antidote. It's not a tool like a saw or a screwdriver. When you see or when you adopt meditation in an instrumental way as a means of doing something, then he says, oh, then it becomes a path of delusion. Because the central point of the meditation is your intention to be in control, your intention to have life on your own terms. But he says, if with this, that means to say, if you are at home in the manner of liberation, if you see everything self-liberating, this is the state of meditationless Dharmakaya. By meditationless, he means that it doesn't involve a meditation with an intention. I am going to do this as a means to an end. It's not a method for achieving a goal. It's meditationless in the sense that you just sit. In sitting, you settle in infinite presence. When you get up and move, you are moving in the field of movement inseparable from the infinite stillness. So then he says, continuing direct confidence in liberation is the third key point. It means that the confidence stays with you. And it's direct confidence. It's not that you practice something and you become more confident that you'll be able to do it. But the confidence is the direct ease of being, which comes with fully being present at the moment of the self-liberation of whatever is occurring. So when you do, excuse me, basic shine, and you focus on the sensation at your nostrils, if you get distracted, you bring your attention back to the sensation at the nostril. But here, the mind is not located anywhere. It is present, fully awake. Location, duration, time and space are within the showing of awareness. They are movement. So, remaining relaxed and open, life is flowing. And you are exactly on the point, on the beat, moment by moment. Now, you may feel that you suddenly got distracted. When this occurs, you have two choices. Oh no, I've gone wrong. I need to get back to where I was. That point has already gone. Don't try to correct mistakes. There are no mistakes. You are sitting and practicing. You go into a daydream. You are somewhere else, but you are here. You are here and somewhere else. You are here as if you were somewhere else. You haven't gone anywhere. Being distracted is a form of being here. Now, it will take you some time of practice to see this directly. The traditional texts say, if you go to a land of gold, all you find is gold. In the land of the Dharmakaya, all you find is Dharmakaya. But if you think that you can make a hierarchy of Dharmakayas, very best Dharmakaya, good Dharmakaya, not so good Dharmakaya, then you live in a land of gold, but you smear every piece of gold with your own shit, which is not very wise. So this third point is very important. So these 3 points, the 3 essential teachings of Garab Dorje, which brought the Dzogchen teachings into the human world, these are the essential guide to our practice. The first is to open to the always open. As we study, we hear, oh, the mind is open. My mind doesn't feel open. Okay, but your mind is open, but it doesn't feel open. What to do? Sit. My mind doesn't feel open. Don't change anything. Stay with that. The thought, my mind, or the feeling, my mind doesn't feel open, vanishes. What is left when that thought vanishes? Some space. Then another thought comes, absorbing me. I don't know what I'm doing. Don't do anything. Stay with that thought. I don't know what I'm doing. It's already vanished. I have to say it again. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. This is why when you become a Buddhist, you have to buy one of these malas. So you can count. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. I fuck up. I get distracted. You can count it again and again. You're following one thought by another thought by another thought. Don't follow the thought. Don't comment on the thought. You have your original face, naked. You don't need makeup. You don't need foundation. You don't need to put some lipstick on. You don't need eyeshadow. You don't need to pluck your eyebrows. Don't interfere. Don't do. The mind is. The thoughts go. The mind is. The feelings go. This is the first statement of Garab Dorje. Stay open with the open. The second is don't remain in doubt. Don't rest inside some conceptual judgment about what is going on. When I was a child, sometimes I would say something to my dad, "Dad, you're always like this, you don't know how to do that." And he would say, "Well, you seem to know a lot about things, but you don't know much about life." This is our situation. Our ego doesn't know much about awareness. Awareness displays everything. It shows everything, but the ego sees very little. So you start reviewing your practice, judging your practice, thinking about how to improve your practice. You're trusting the ego. The ego says thoughts tell the truth, but the teaching says don't wrap yourself in concepts. If you want to return to the ground openness, use pet, and then just sit. Sitting in open presence, everything which arises vanishes. So there is no need to have doubt. Doubt is a sign of separation. I am thinking about that. By relaxing, being at ease, allowing the arising of pet and staying present, then you bring yourself to where you are. And third point, this third statement of Garab Dorje is simply continue in this way. Don't imagine that there is anything better, because if you imagine there's something better, you want to add some ingredients and take away some ingredients. You want to improve the recipe. There are some good recipes for baking cakes, but there is no recipe for being a Buddha. Each person has to find how they are a Buddha. If you were to make yourself into a Buddha, then your Buddha would be artificial. It would be constructed and necessarily impermanent. You are. You already are. This is it. You are here. How am I here? You're open, revealing, moving. Open, revealing, moving. This is how we are here. So if we look, we will see that this is true. Okay, let's have a break now till past, and then we come back for our final session, moving towards the end. So now we're coming to the final part, but before we do that, I want to emphasize this point he was making, that you don't have to change anything. For example, if you are a miserable kind of person who is always complaining, you can continue to have a sour life. Sweet is not better than sour in terms of the ground. You're just sour. So when you say, "Oh, the roads are so busy. Oh, the roads are so busy," each of these thoughts or words is vanishing. They arise in a linear progression. The first has to go in order to make space for the second one. They are vanishing. So, I hate everything. This is a vanishing statement. If you are present with the vanishing of this sad statement, it is self-liberating. You don't have to change it. Now, of course, in terms of interacting with other people, life is much easier if everybody is sweet and kind and so on. But a painter needs to have many different colors on the palette. And sour people and bitter people and nasty people are also part of the world. Everything which arises is the energy of the Dharmakaya. So you might then ask, well, why would the Dharmakaya give rise to such a horrible person? Well, that is a cognitive structure. You have already decided that they are bad. and you have decided that they could be better, that is a sign that you're not doing very well. So you, as a narrow-minded, judgmental person, are saying that a sad, bitter person is no good. And you could spend a lot of time in that way. Do you see the point? Don't objectify. In the practice of compassion in general Mahayana Buddhism, the most open mode of compassion is called the Migme Ninje, the compassion or the kindness or the never-ending connectivity of non-objectification. That is to say, the object of compassion is not an object. You are participating in the unfolding field of participation, like rippling streams of water inside a river. There is nothing to take hold of. Judgment occurs when you exit the flow, when you imagine that you are somehow on the bank of the river looking at the flow. But when you see that your body, your voice, your mind are unfolding in time and space, in that time and space themselves are ideas manifesting and changing within the energy of the Dharmakaya, then there are no truly existing sentient beings to be helped or to be harmed. In the course of your life, probably you have experienced the judgments of different people, maybe in your family or at school, or if you had to have some time in the army. There are many situations where people feel entitled to make strong judgments about you. But the fact is, you have always been more than the judgment that was made of you. We are not things. We cannot be inserted into someone's framework of evaluation. So when we go to make a judgment about ourselves or about others, you have to know you are inventing the person you judge. They do not exist. They neither exist nor not exist, like a rainbow. If you say the rainbow doesn't exist, well, look in the sky, there it is. But if you say the rainbow exists, well, what life does it have? It's entirely dependent on pathways of light passing through raindrops. A rainbow is an experience. Its power, its force is how we experience it. There are no cats and dogs and human beings. Cats and dogs and human beings are concepts which you apply to interpret the status of what you see. They are your own mental activity. This is not an idealist philosophy. It's not saying everything is just produced by your own private little mind. But you can observe for yourself how you formulate opinions and interpretations and feel how real they seem, and then see that they are not shared with other people. It's relative. It is connectivity, communication, not truth. So whenever a judgment arises in your mind or an opinion which you take to be true, don't follow the semantic content, the meaning content of what you're saying or thinking. And then you see, oh, it's vanished. Like Marshall McLuhan used to say, the medium is the message. A guy called Marshall McLuhan, he was an expert on communication theory. So the medium is evanescence. So if I say you're wonderful or you are horrible or you're quite, so each of these has power because of its semantic content. But this is like the cherry on the cake. The cake is the vanishing of sound into silence. The cherry is the meaning. Don't just follow the cherry. If you follow the cake, it's gone, vanished, vanished. So what are you building your house on? Nothing. The radiance of nothing. Oh, don't judge yourself, don't judge other people, but respond according to circumstances, participate according to your own capacity and the potential of the situation, and avoid conclusions. This was really good, that was terrible. It's already gone. When you make this conclusion, you are saying that I am the one who gives meaning to the world. And so you alienate yourself from the flow of arising and passing. So he says, with this view of these 3 points, the meditation linking knowledge and love, and the support of the general bodhisattva, even if the Buddhas of the 3 times conferred together, there would not be any better teaching than this. What he's saying here is this teaching is enough, it is sufficient. So what I'm saying is, he is saying that this text that we have been looking at is sufficient. He says all the Buddhas couldn't produce anything better than this. This, he is pointing here to the meaning of the 3rd statement of Garab Dorje. Be content, be satisfied, or rather find the satisfaction which is fully available inside, resting in your unborn mind. When you imagine there is something better than this, you have this and the other. Then you are 2 things and you compare them. Now you're fully in duality, and everything you study is a waste of time. Stay with this. How will I know if it's enough? If you give yourself fully to this, it will give itself fully to you. But if you think, I'll do a bit of this and a bit of that and a bit of the other, then it becomes difficult. Because now I have 3 options. How will I know what is the best thing to do? How could you know? Because you put yourself outside looking in. So when you do the practice, and especially the pet, and you have even a short moment of nothing at all, infinite, limitless nothing, that's all there is. Then everything which arises is within that. Everything is the play of awareness. So don't give yourself to thoughts, to memories, to plans. Give yourself to space. Give yourself to the Dharmakaya. You are the child. The Dharmakaya is the mother. You open to the mother. The mother, of course, is open to you. Then you find yourself with your original face. The expressive power of awareness, the treasure revealer of the Dharmakaya, has brought forth this treasure from the expanse of true seeing. It means that not only is the energetic medium of the showing or presentation of the teachings from the Dharmakaya, but also the meaning. Everything comes from the Dharmakaya. But semantically, in terms of the meaning content, many things block where they have come from. I exist as an independent person. This is not true, but I can say it. And maybe I can convince you to believe it as well. You only have to believe things if they're not true. Belief is a mental activity. The truth is self-existing. The openness of the sky is not influenced whether you think it's open or closed. The actual presence of your mind is not an idea. It is here when you offer yourself to your mind itself. So this teaching arises as the truth of the ground. As I said yesterday, Garab Dorje spoke these 3 statements from when he was resting in space surrounded by rainbow light. In the Tibetan traditions, in all of them, for refuge, for bodhisattva vow, and so on, lineage is very important. If the source of the teaching is the Buddha, then it's reliable. But if the teaching has arisen through the confused conceptualizations of human beings, then it's unlikely to be reliable. You can see in modern universities how many journals there are, how many research projects there are as knowledge develops and develops and develops. All of this is what I mentioned earlier as Dorje means gathered together, fabricated, contrived. The ground is uncontrived. The basis just is. Whatever is created will vanish in time. Therefore, it's important to have an authentic lineage. Now, of course, when these teachings come from a Tibetan teacher through a Western teacher, there is some difference because I use different kind of examples and different kind of language, but the central points remain the same. Only the examples used change, but the actual teaching itself is exactly the same as I heard from my teacher. When the teachings are mixed with ideas, Buddhism and neuropsychology, Buddhism and ecology, Buddhism and how to develop your hedge fund, and we are in the territory of mindfulness. If you want to guarantee that you will never ever encounter your mind as it is, you can practice modern mindfulness. That's because it's a fabrication. It's been put together by human beings with all kinds of different human motivations, including greed, pride, contempt for others, and so on. I'm not saying this to criticize other people, what they do. People are welcome to do whatever they want. But according to the Buddhist tradition, don't mix your ordinary human conceptualization with the Dharma. Because after a while, you don't know if this is the Buddha's idea or your own idea. That's why we go back to these texts again and again and look at them and say, oh, this is what it says. This is how it is. Not how I think it is, but this is how it is. So then he says, this is not like something extracted from earth and stone. When you take the ore out of the ground, you have to refine it. This doesn't need any refining. It's pure in the beginning. And if you try to refine it by adding your own thoughts, you will be introducing impurity. Now, for Western people, this is probably more difficult to understand than for Tibetans, because we are educated to believe that we have to have creative thoughts. We have to write essays in school. We have to show that we can solve problems by having many different thoughts. We are trained to believe that the dualistic concepts manipulated by our dualizing consciousness is the path to truth. This is not at all what these kind of texts say. They say, don't take refuge in thoughts, feelings, sensations. Take refuge in the mind itself, which means you have to find the mind itself. You won't find your mind by reading books about Dzogchen. You will find it by sitting in silence with yourself, allowing how you are to reveal itself. And now to developing some support groups for people who maybe want to study a bit. This is potentially useful, but you need to be careful. If you cover the Dharma with your own thoughts, that will be very sad. So we have to be careful, not too enthusiastic. Start with the assumption that your opinion is probably wrong, as if you are walking on thin ice, because sensitivity and precision is what we require to be with the mind itself. It's not about assumptions or beliefs or knowledge imported from somewhere else. Now, through our practice together, you have some connection with this teaching, the most central and basic of the Dzogchen teachings, and you can apply yourself to it every day. Now you have gold. Now, you also might like silver and wood. Oh, you're busy going out getting some lead and copper. That's fine, then you have an interesting life. But you have to know that gold is not copper or lead. And even if you have a ton of lead, it's not the same as an ounce of gold. You don't need to have a mountain of gold. But every day you sit a little, you're there, you have a sense of spaciousness. You're aware of the movement of the mind within the space of the mind. The illuminator is not my ego consciousness. My ego consciousness is something illuminated by awareness. The ground is gold. Everything is gold. So if you don't find the gold, no amount of copper will save you. The gold is already there. You just have to be with it. It shows itself if you are able to see what is shown. But if you already have an idea of what you are looking for, your own fixation is likely to blind you to the actuality of the ground. So he says, it is the definitive testament of Garab Dorje. It's the heart essence of the three transmissions. So means this is really something you can trust. It's worth giving your time and energy to this. That doesn't mean it's going to be miraculous, because we all have our own condition and we have to work with ourselves. It may be that for you, many obstacles arise. Some people have financial difficulties, relationship difficulties, health difficulties. If you want to do the practice, these difficulties are your path. They're not something to get rid of. If you have a love story that's not very satisfying, then this lets you experience disappointment, frustration, longing for something else, and so on. This doesn't mean that you should change your situation, nor does it mean that you shouldn't change your situation. But as long as you're in that situation, this is what is arising for you. I'm disappointed. I thought it would be different. These kind of thoughts are very dangerous for meditators, because somehow they seem to be saying, do something different. Come on, for fuck's sake, you're getting old, make your life better. But we sit, this is how it is. This is not sitting like a victim. We're not imprisoned. We are fortunate people. Most of us live in societies where we can change the outer form of our life. But this is how it is. So how is it? Not what is it? Not how else could it be? But how is it? Stay with the arising of the sensation, the feeling, stay with it. The limitation vanishes, revealing the openness of the mind. But if you try to change the limitation, you will find that you are a limited agent of change. I think the internet is telling us to shut up soon. So, and then Patrul Rinpoche says, it is entrusted to my heart disciples and sealed. Sealed means like a letter from hundreds of years ago when they put a big seal at the bottom. It means don't touch it, don't change it. Its meaning is profound, a teaching from the heart. Means the teaching embodies Patrul Rinpoche's life of meditation practice and study and teaching and so on. A teaching from the heart, it has the vital meaning. It means this meaning can bring life to you. It can connect the child and the mother. Don't let the vital meaning fade or be discarded. Do not let these instructions go to waste. And says, this is the special teaching of the wise and glorious king. Oh, traditionally, this kind of teaching would be kept a little bit secret, because if it is not respected, it becomes just words among words. But if we are respectful towards the meaning of the text, if we take it and massage it into ourselves day by day, it becomes something to bring deep life to yourself. Buddhism is concerned with liberation, with tapa, with drowa, to be free of constraint. You can be imprisoned by outer situations, by habit formations, by your own tendencies. So if you see that each moment of your life is emergent, dynamic, the object side is self-liberating. And having nothing to grasp, the subject side is also self-liberating. This is liberation itself. And if you practice this, you can relate to more kind of people, because you're less and less imprisoned inside your own prejudices and judgments about other people are. And that is compassion or kindness or love. Love says there is no barrier between us. So when you go out and you walk about in the market or down the streets and you see people and you enter into judgment, having fear for some and desire for others, allow this to arise. It arises and passes. If you don't cook it, if you don't mix it up, you feel a moment of desire, then it goes. You feel fear or irritation, and it goes. This is the quality of uncontrived freedom. You're not having to hold yourself apart from situations in order to be safe. But the life is moving through you, arising and passing, arising and passing. Your mind cannot be defined or caught by anything which arises. You are beyond limited identity, shame, humiliation, guilt, beyond objectification. This is the liberation of yourself and all beings. May it be practiced by presidents everywhere. Okay, let's do a short sitting and then we come towards an end. Okay. Oh, now we come towards the end. I already said, yes, for the autumn, I'm not sure the program, but if you have some ideas, you can send in some email and we see what is possible and how to proceed. The system seems to work reasonably well, but of course, we're at the mercy of the internet connections and all kinds of technical problems that can suddenly arise. And when it becomes safe to meet together, we can start to do that. And as I said before, we have this revised and new website available now. So please look at it in the next few days and see if you see any glitches or things that need to be connected, particularly in links and so on, and send that information back to Christian Leisman at the address on the website. And so thank you to our translators, Robert, Juan, and Milton, and to Pedro, who keeps things moving in the background, but who also prepares the Zooms for being made publicly available. So I wish you all a good summer and with plenty of time to practice in all kinds of different situations. How lovely to see your smiling faces. Oh, have a good summer.
James. James.
Grazie.
Bye.
Thank you
Very
James.
much. Thank you very much all.
Grazie. Grazie a tutti.
To me, gracias.
Dankeschön.
Bye.